All right, welcome back. What is authenticity? I was in a course years ago, and the teacher said, you can only be authentic in decrying your own inauthenticity. So if I say, I authentically love you, there's something about it that falls flat, that falls hollow, it doesn't seem correct. But if I say, um, you know, I was acting passive aggressive last night when I didn't return your phone call. I have no excuse. I'm sorry, unequivocally. That rings true. Like that feels authentic when you own your own inauthenticity. So that's one definition that resonates with me. You can actually spend some time, if you like, going through Heidegger and Sartre and all those other people. But for the purposes of this course, I think that we just need to agree on what authenticity is. So it's difficult to define, but I'm going to give you some reasons why we just need to have some understanding of it. So the first thing we need to do is look at the mind. I like to use the analogy that the brain is the hardware and the mind is the software. The mind is your operating system. And we need to be able to take a look at it to see how it's running. So, my favorite quote is, I don't know who discovered water, but I doubt it was a fish. And we're all these fish swimming in our own way of being in the world. And again, we have very little insight into that way of being unless our houses are full of mirrors, or we go to therapy a lot, or we're married, because our partners show up as our mirrors and trigger us, which is the whole point of making a course for lovable idiots, because you're going to look at your partner once in a while and you're going to be like, wow, didn't I tell them that they chew with their mouth open and that thing, it just drives me crazy? Why, if I told them that, are they still doing it? What an idiot. All right. Einstein said this more poetically when he said that the level of consciousness that created the problem will be unable to fix it. So what I have to do is take you on a little bit of a roller coaster. I have to take you on a spiritual, emotional, psychological, intellectual roller coaster. I have to rattle your cage a little bit and give you some new tools, because when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem resembles a nail. Okay, are you ready to play? Raise your hand if you can outrun a bear. Raise your hand if you can outfly a predatory bird. No? Raise your hand if you can outswim a shark. No. What's the superpower that allows humans to survive? Language, right? And it's also, if you read our president's tweets, it's also quite a dangerous thing, isn't it? But for the purposes of this course, I just want you to entertain the possibility that language is a cage, it's a prison, right? And if you can only speak one or two or three languages, it influences what you can and can't think, right? So I'm going to give you some funny examples of how language doesn't work. There's no egg and eggplant, nor ham and hamburger. If a vegetarian eats vegetables, what does a humanitarian eat? If adults commit adultery, do infants commit infantry? Why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways? And these are actual headlines. It's funny because you can say them either way, so you'll get it immediately. Squad helps dog bite victim. Man eating piranha mistakenly sold as pet fish. Juvenile court to try shooting defendant. Right? So we're trapped in a language, and that language, we have a million words in the English language and infinite possibilities, infinite combinations, but it's still very confusing and limiting, and we have to use it to mediate our experiences with other human beings, and you can see how there can be misinterpretations. So if we want to be authentic, what we have to look at is how our minds operate, how we think, how our operating systems are running. Now, I believe that our mind's primary desire is to try to stave off potential future trauma, right? And it does this by creating expectations and contingencies. Well, if I get a ticket on my car, I'll pay it and then I'll fight it. Or, you just have all these things going around in your mind. But I'd like you to entertain the possibility that at this point in time, past the age of 15, 20 years old, we're really just a bundle of reactions waiting for stimuli. And that's what we need to examine, because that is our way of being in the world. It is mostly comprised of defense mechanisms, right? So those defense mechanisms, just try on. I know this is difficult, but just try it on. They're actually prejudices. And you're coming to all experiences inauthentically because your prejudices are not, you're just like, oh, yeah, chocolate bad, or oh, vanilla bad, or oh, vanilla good, right? Instead of just showing up in this moment and saying, wow, I don't know, I'll taste both, and maybe I'll choose both vanilla and chocolate. I don't know, right? So, the real reason I want you to use that word, and listen, none of us want to admit that we're prejudiced. I know that. But whatever is making up those defense mechanisms could be hindering your loving relationships. And we all want to be happy. And the one thing that correlates strongly with happiness is the quality of our intimate relationships, right? So if we want to have beautiful, loving, supportive, intimate relationships, what do we need to do? We need to be authentic. And to be authentic, what do we need to do? Well, in my book, I break it down into attachment, atonement, attunement, presence, and congruence. Okay? Attachment, atonement, attunement, presence, and congruence, and that's what we'll be going over for the next 5 videos. All right, let's go back to authenticity. So, this is how I learned about authenticity. I took a course like this, and a gentleman stood up and he said, when I was in high school, I cut the first 45 days of physics class. And I'm from Lebanon, and the teacher was from Lebanon. And one day, the teacher cornered me in the hall, and he said, hey, why are you signed up for my class? You've been cutting it the whole time. I'm going to fail you. You don't need this class. You're just going to end up working in your father's shop. So just cut the class and that will be done. So what's the kid do? He took that class every day. He got straight A's. He went on to Las Vegas University, University of Las Vegas, and he opened his own shop. So now we're in this course 20 years later. The teacher asked, what's the name of your shop? He says, it's Bob's Shop. No, it's not. What's the name of your shop? Well, my name's Bob. It's Bob's Shop. No, it's not. What's the name of your shop? Well, it's Bob's Shop. I'm Bob. No, it's not. The name of your shop is Not My Father's Shop. So we become what we love and we become what we hate, and both are inauthentic. Here's another way of putting it. One brother asked another one, so why'd you grow up to be a drunk? And he says, because dad was a drunk. And then the other brother asks, why didn't you grow up to be a drunk? And he says, because dad was a drunk. You've all seen this chart before. K represents everything that you know. You know how to use an iPhone. You know how to speak English. You know how to drive a car. DK represents everything that you don't know. You don't know how to change a carburetor on a Bugatti. You don't know how to fly to Mars. You don't know how to get your kids to listen to you. And then DK represents everything that you don't know that you don't know. And that is infinite. Again, language is a cage. You only speak 1, 2, 3, 4 languages. So there's this infinite array of phenomena out there that are unknown to you, right? I'm going to ask you to entertain the possibility that it's what you don't know that could be causing any unsatisfactoriness in your life. And then the other thing that's interesting to me, so I've been studying Lacan for a couple of years, and the subconscious, the unconscious, and Slavoj Žižek says, what we know, but we don't know that we know. That's the Freudian subconscious. And again, I don't know who discovered water, but I doubt it was a fish. We're trying to get some insight into our way of being. We're trying to lift the hood and examine why we think the stuff that we think, why we do the things that we do, and why we consider all the things that we consider to be normal. Because, unless your life is incredibly perfect, you may be open to making some tweaks that will help you run more smoothly. All right. So if you're taking this course, you probably have tried meditation or have a daily meditation practice. And if you do, then you know that the mind has a mind of its own. So how many black dots can you count at the same time? It's very interesting, right? Here's another one. This is called the Thatcher effect. So what do you see? 3 women upside down, correct? So this is what you really see. What? So do me a favor. Squint at their lips, squint at their eyes. Just get it in your head, right? So we'll do it again. So what do you see? 3 beautiful women upside down, correct? What do you really see? All right. So I normally teach this class in front of 100 people, but just go with me for this next part. What's the color of snow? And what do cows drink? Now, most of the time in the classes, all these PhDs from Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Yale yell out milk. And then I have to sit there and let them bathe in their own confusion, because I'm sitting there wondering. Because what happened is I primed them by saying white, by having them say white, to have them think of milk. Cows drink water, right? So the reason this is important is because there's something called rebranding, where you're sitting there just innocuously playing on your computer and something comes up on the left, MAC lipstick, try this MAC lipstick, and you don't even you're sitting there, and then all of a sudden October comes around, November, you're like, I always want to try MAC lipstick. So that's why, all the things that you think are so important, because this to me is the funniest photo on the internet. So, when you look at it first, you're like, yeah, what's the problem? And then you realize, man, too stupid to use hat. So I know this could be a little bit provocative, but we're all that guy. We all have those hats, but we're wearing them the wrong way, right? So take a look, and we're going to try to turn those hats around today. There is no immaculate perception. Rene Magritte made this painting. This is not a pipe, to show you that you cannot smoke a painting, right? We have the symbolic world out there of language, words, images, sounds, and they're not reality, right? Lacan actually says that language distances us from reality. So the map is not the territory. Wittgenstein famously asked, when I say red and you think red, how do we know that we're thinking the same things? We don't, right? We can never know. But we do need language to mediate like our own personal experiences, and we have to take on the fact that the map is not the territory. I have a map in my head, and you have a map in your head, and we have to see where they match and where they don't match, okay? As I said, just entertain the possibility that at this point in our lives, we are a bundle of defense mechanisms. We're riding on autopilot. There's billions and billions of bits of information out there that we could point our awareness to, but our awareness is basically, what's for lunch? How do I pay my rent? When's the next time I'm going to be intimate with someone? We just have all these things that we think are normal, and yet there's a infinite possibilities of things we can think, and in the 4th part of this class, I'm hopefully going to teach you to think better thoughts. Do you think your thoughts or do your thoughts think you? Lacan has this beautiful phrase, language thinks me, right? So that's the whole point of this course, is to get you to have a better understanding of why you think the stuff that you think. And that's what we'll study in the next section. I'll see you there.